In this podcast, we talk about well-deserved holidays, whether it's Christmas, the Easter long weekend, or another long weekend relevant to different states. There are precautions you need to take if you're travelling by road, and in particular towing a caravan or boat. We're going to keep it simple with the towing and concentrate on the basics, because at the end of the day, it's up to you to make sure that you're legal based on what you're towing. Let's get on the hook. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Aussie Tow Talk. Look, we all work so freaking hard. So when it comes to a long weekend, we're packing the car, the caravan or trailer, and we are out of there. So, traveling to whatever destination suits us, and to get away from the hustle and bustle. But first, I'm going to answer a question where someone wanted to know if you can tow your motorcycle from an accident scene. Well, the answer is yes and no. So it depends on what the laws are in the state that you've had the crash. So, for instance, Victoria has two zones when it comes to towing: a metro zone and a rural zone. So in the metro zone, your motorcycle or car, doesn't matter what it is, must be towed by an allocated tow truck unless it's 2 kilometres from the crash scene, whereas in the rural zone, this rule does not apply. Now, some states are based on distance and time, so meaning you might have to travel a certain distance before you can self-tow, or wait for 24 hours because the scene is no longer classed as a crash site. Best thing to do is ask the police or even the towee on the scene, and I know what you're thinking, the towee's going to tell you anything so they can get the tow, but it's actually not true. Under the regulations in nearly every state, tow truck operators must be fully transparent when it comes to your rights at a crash scene. So now back on topic, sometimes fate throws a spanner in the works when going on holiday, and the next thing you know, you've broken down in the middle of nowhere, or worse, you've had a crash. So I'm going to go through a few things here of what you can do before you leave, just to make sure that you've got all your bases covered. Firstly, make sure your insurance and your roadside is up to date, and further to that, consider upgrading your roadside assistance to a top tier plan. Now, I've seen a lot of people traveling sometimes thousands of kilometres from home, and bang, the transmission goes, or a wheel bearing goes, or they've hit wildlife, and only have the basic cover on the roadside or third party insurance. Look, even if your car's $1,000 piece of shit, get full comprehensive if you're traveling out of town. As for roadside, get a top tier plan like NRMA Ultimate, which I will vouch for, and don't leave it until the last minute, because some of these plans have cooling off periods. Number 2, do your insurance and roadside policies cover car and or accommodation? So this is an important one as well. Has your vehicle had a recent service? Don't forget to tell your mechanic you're doing a trip either. They should do a check on things like wheel bearings and ball joints, basically for wear and tear. Wheel bearings is actually a big one. You don't want one of these going when you're doing, you're going down the highway doing the 100, but plan ahead, okay? It's not a good outcome if you don't. Now let's talk about caravans and boats, because for caravans in particular, there is a lot of them on the road these days all year round. Check your tyre pressures on your car, but also your caravan and your boat trailer. And when you check them, go off the recommended pressure on the side wall of the tyre, not the trailer specs. So while those specs might have been valid when you bought the trailer originally or caravan, chances are you've changed tyres over time and they will have different specs. This is an important thing that a lot of people miss, and it can create a lot of damage and a lot of drama. Don't forget to check your spares either. That includes your car. A lot of people do. Still on the subject of trailers, check your tow ball and your hitches. They need to be on spec and in great condition. Not good condition, great condition. Number 5, this is a big one, right? Check your weights. Now, this is huge when towing something like a caravan especially, and you've had a GVM upgrade. So let's put an example out there. Let's say your vehicle is 4.5 ton GVM or greater. If so, you must enter a weighbridge. Now, this is not to be confused with your GCM, right? Your gross combination mass. It's all about the gross vehicle mass of your car. Now, admittedly, there are some weighbridges that say vehicles with 8,000 kilo GVM must enter. You're pretty right. But if it says 4,500 kilos, you got to go in. And don't think you can sidestep it either. Registration recognition cameras will tell people inside in the weighbridge that what your vehicle's registered weight is. So, and the NHVR, or the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator, doesn't take too kindly to that sort of thing. And because they are a federal body, that means federal fines charged per breach, and can easily go into the thousands column. So here are some other things to remember as well. If you've had this upgrade, right, this is really important, but it's basic. So, and you need to know this stuff. Speed limits. Upgrading past 4.5 tons changes your classification status, meaning you must abide by specific heavy vehicle or localized road rules and lower speed caps where applicable. Also, licensing. Operating a vehicle with a GVM above 4.5 tons may require you to have a light truck driver's license depending on exact configurations. And verification. Always check the weights listed on your vehicle's physical compliance and modification plate. If you're unaware, if you're unsure whether an open station applies to your specific, re-rated mass on the day, it's safer to pull it in than to risk an overmass penalty. Okay, and again, I'll say this again, this is based on the vehicle, not basically on its own, not while you're towing the caravan. Okay, so this is really important. Now, getting this wrong can be a costly exercise, okay, like this guy found out. Not only was his vehicle not suited to tow this van on the trailer, but the van was also full of engine parts, right, including multiple engine blocks. He was not insured, so he received a fistful of fines and a hefty recovery towing bill. And this is what you want to avoid as much as you can, okay? Again, planning ahead, but we're going to get into this a little bit more later on. Now, lastly, and probably most important, make sure your vehicle is suitable for what you are towing. So, towing a 2-ton caravan with a tradie ute and that has an aluminium tray and nothing in the back, it's going to bring you unstuck. And I've seen this many times where the vehicle doing the towing is nowhere near on spec for what it is towing. And it's just fucking not on, right? Because you're putting yourself at risk and you're putting other people at risk. And it's a big thing. I've seen this a lot over the years. And I've been left scratching my head saying, what the, basically, what the hell were you thinking? And actually one in particular I went to turned out to be a fatality. So, look, this is a real important one. If you're towing, say, a 3.5 ton caravan, and some of them very easily go up to the weight these days, make sure you have a vehicle appropriate to tow that van, okay? So that vehicle needs to be solid, anchored to the ground, so it can tow that caravan or boat, for instance, right? Even a boat. Some big boats getting out there, so it's really, really important. Look, above all, and best thing to do is when you go on your holidays and you're traveling by road, be patient. Your destination is still going to be there no matter how long it takes. Remember, you're on holidays and you're supposed to be in relax mode. You've been looking forward to this all year. And if that's the case, make sure you do everything you can to enjoy it. Not only for the long weekend that you may be on or may be travelling for, but for many more in years to come in any holiday period. Now, if I've missed a few things, and I probably have, please let me know in the comments. As always, constructive criticism is welcome, but if you're going to be a tool, just hop back into your fucking box. So, apart from that, I want to thank you for joining me today. This is just a quick podcast, not a very long one today. Got another one coming very soon, and I'll post a short on the topic, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, drive safe, enjoy your next long weekend, and I'll see you guys very soon.